What is up, guys? This is Alex from First Figures.
Hi there everyone, this is Chuggles.
Who do we have here? Artorias, the Abysswalker SD! Hey! Believe it or not, Chocks, this is a PVC, it is not a resin. We're normally known for making a lot of resin products, but we're going more and more into PVC. I'm very, very happy to be introducing the first in our SD line. Now,
That's right.
SD, First Figures SD line. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, the SD here stands for Super Default. Now, it's a kind of style that originated out of Japan, and it really has the kind of appearance of a enlarged head with a small body, also known as chibi style, SD. You know, these are the kind of terminology that you can use to describe this type of style. Now, we've done it in a PVC, as I was saying. So, as I said, it's a PVC version of the SD line. It's a bit of a mouthful. Here we are, Chocks. Artorias the Abysswalker SD. Been working on it for quite a while. Here we are now with pretty much the final product here. It's not a resin sample. It is an actual production piece, and we can go into a little bit more detail about the construction of it all, and we can show you how the materials are, the differences between PVC and ABS, and the sort of technicalities with that. And as we're talking more about the sort of details and all of that sort of stuff behind it. Yeah, but before we do that, Chocks, I think we have some questions. Do you want to talk a little bit about how we got these questions, and it can sort of help guide this?
Okay, sure. I mean, before we go into detail, before we go into detail with this PVC line, obviously we make these documentaries with every time we do a launch. For this launch, we created a post in the Collectors Club, First Figures Official Collectors Club, where we asked the members in the club, hey, if you've got any questions with regards to our new SD line, hit us up, and that's what the members did. Yeah,
and of course this is on Facebook.
Yeah, on Facebook.
So I believe we have some questions.
Yeah, let's just jump straight in because
I think the jumping into the, it's going to help govern some of the topics we're going to discuss.
Okay,
for sure.
Cool. Right, first question from Joe Patterson.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for the somewhat cartoon-like design of these?
So, you know, that's a great question. So there is a lot of different styles of figures that you can make. You can have what is almost like a one-to-one kind of replica of what you're trying to recreate from the game, and that's what we're known for. If you look at 95% of our products, is usually about trying to get the original essence of a character and just translate it as best as you can into the physical form. So what makes this very, very different, of course, is a very stylized thing, and it's got this, as you say, a somewhat cartoon-like design. Except for when you think cartoon, you usually quite think kind of very general shapes, very smooth textures, and as you can see in Chocks, I think we should give it a turn. This has absolutely tons and tons and tons of detail in there that is quite a big difference to a cartoony design, I should say. However, the overall appearance of it, with the enlarged head, I would say the ridiculously sized sword, but its sword is massive anyway, it's Artorias'. But that whole cartoon-esque, it's kind of been, with our proportions, it's kind of been contrasted with a high level of detail that we've sort of packed in there. So when Joe asked what's the inspiration for that, well, I can explain. We originally did a lot of, as I said, one-to-one replications of those pieces, and of course we've actually done one of Artorias himself. We did it in resin, and we have one, and we'll do a comparison a little bit later on.
That was also the first one in the resin line.
Right. It was the first in the resin Dark Souls line, and the thing about that is we already basically did it. Now, what we could have done, you know, is just basically shrink it down exactly the same as the resin. We have absolute ability to do that, to make it into a smaller version of the PVC. However, particularly for Dark Souls and Artorias, that has actually already been done by Banpresto. They've done a fantastic job of that. And that's not what we really wanted to do. I mean, we'd already done the enlarged one, and we wanted to bring it down to a more, how should I say, accessible size, which is this sort of size here, but make it different enough that it's not just a mini-me, if that makes sense. Now, I have nothing against mini-me's. In fact, I think they're really great. But as I said, it was already in the marketplace by Banpresto, and therefore we felt that it didn't make sense to just resize our large Artorias and make it smaller, sort of resize it to make it smaller. So, do you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah. I mean, there was quite a lot of discussion with regards to, hey, how are we going to make this Artorias into a smaller piece? You know, how do we define ourselves with our new PVC line, or SD line? So,
right.
You know, we try to, you know, we did a lot of research, what's out there in the market, and obviously we know about the game, where the game is, you know, all about very detailed environments and characters, and we're trying to grab the best of everything, jumble it all together, you know. And you know, we've done some PVCs before,
sure,
but this one is kind of like a combination of everything, you know, the nice small size, detailed armor, you know, some special effects around the base, you know, it's a combination of everything, and then mix them all together, and then this is where we are with the SD line.
Yeah, you know, you're absolutely right. And as you said, at the design stage, we had a lot of discussion about the proportions, and it's mainly about the proportions. How big do you go with the head? How enlarged do you make different things? Do you have big hands as well as big feet, small body? How do we do it? Well, actually, what we went for, as you can see in this job, is we've gone for basically just an enlarged head, and the actual feet and hands and stuff, they're all quite small. So we haven't had a large hands or large feet. It's mainly sort of followed that same principle, and there will be others in this line, Chocks, and it will have that similar sort of style with an enlarged head and a pretty much sort of smaller hands, smaller feet. We haven't enlarged any of those. Now, of course, that comes with structural challenges, which we'll talk a little bit more about when we actually show the breakdown of the parts. But when it comes with its own structural difficulties, you have to consider that when we're doing it at the design stage. And we had to be really confident that at the design stage that we went for small hands and small feet, small hands and small feet, that when we came to the physical time, that we had the confidence that we could engineer it, Chocks, into a way that it could still be stable and not have it over time bend or what have you. And that's one of always the difficult things when you're thinking about design work, and I always try to follow that concept where design is never influenced by engineering. That engineering should always be the servant of the design. Does that make sense? That the king is the design, and it's the engineering that must serve the design. I'll give you an example when engineering comes first and design comes later, and that is, I don't know, levitating something 5 inches in the air and nothing touching it. That's just not physically possible. You can't engineer it, stick massive magnets in it, just can't be done. And therefore, in that case, the design must be the servant of the engineering. But for something like this, we have the experience, we were pretty confident that we could get the small hands and small feet to support the big head, which we knew was going to have a lot of weight to it in proportion. And happy to say we were correct, otherwise we wouldn't be making this video. So the inspiration again for this design was to look at the overall market, what was in the marketplace, how to have something that's complementary to those that already have the Artorias resin, and also something that is, you know, accessible for those that might be limited in size, in space, and what have you.
Because in the Collectors Club we have a variety of different members.
Absolutely.
Some members prefer resin, some members really liked some of our previous PVCs and they want that to continue. So we're trying to cater different types of collectors. But hey, if you love resin and PVC, then that's perfect.
Right, absolutely. And Chocks, I believe you want to ask the next question because it's quite similar to what we're already discussing now, I think.
All right, from Chris Hildebrand. Why did you guys decide to go with a chibi version of the characters for the PVCs instead of a smaller scale of their actual form?
So, you know, as we touched on, so we can reiterate, products that was already in the marketplace, collectors in our club that wanted to have something a bit more, I don't know, size friendly, we could say. Those that actually prefer the medium of PVC as well. And we felt that I wanted to be in a case where we created something that let us flex our creative muscles ourselves. To be honest with you, Chocks, I mean, I love recreating one-to-one representations of those items from the game, from those characters in the game, into the smaller form, like we do in, day out.
Yeah.
This one was more challenging, Chocks, because we had to sit there and think about, okay, well, how do we play about with the sizing, and what's the sort of details that we add to it? Do we simplify it? Do we make it more complicated? What's the overall balance? What's the fine line that you're going to work? And when you have a goal, like we always do when we're creating a mini version of something. I mean, I don't mean mini version. When I'm making a one-to-one representation, it's very, very simple. Does it or does it not look like the character from the game, the anime, whatever it may be? It's a simple yes or no. Here, there is no right answer. But likewise, there is no wrong answer. The design is really up to us to flex those design and creative muscles to come up with our own design, not have to be beholden to the actual design of the character itself from the game. Now, I say that, of course, there are some aspects that we must always, always, always look into, and of course, that is the actual, I should say, the details. So, Chocks, why don't we go with the next question? Because that's going to talk a little bit more about
that. Jonathan Jakubowski? With so many SD figures out there, were you worried about making something unique that would stand out from the crowd? That's his first question. The second question, what makes F4F SD figures unique?
Okay, great question. And what I would say is, do you know what, Chocks? We are a Western company that has had the absolute honor to work with a lot of Asian, Japanese licensors. And as a result, it's really, really easy to be, how should I say, to really sort of look into the Asian side of markets, of figures and toys, when we're looking at researching and all that sort of stuff, especially because the creation is coming from a Japanese licensor. It means we look a lot into the marketplace of Japan and what comes out of there. I'm going to make quite a bold statement and say this is actually quite a almost Japanese-esque style that actually you don't get too much of it in the West. Now you might have some versions of it, maybe it's cartoony, I don't know if it has, it's kind of hard to say, sort of Western style and Japanese influence. This, I think, kind of straddles both, and because that's what we are. We're a Western company, but with huge influence because of the licenses that we have from the Japanese culture. So really sort of translating that into this style, we really could have a lot of influence and kind of using it as a sort of potpourri and mixing pot of creative designs in order to make ours unique. Now, I would say just inherently having just the Western market itself not quite having quite as much choice, or should I say as much exposure to this type of design, makes it already unique. Now, of course, if you just look in Japan, you would say there's a lot of other SDs out there, and therefore it's not unique in that respect. So when you look at it from the Western side, actually is pretty unique because there's not so many of that.
Sure.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, sure.
So that's one way that we can say it's unique from a Western focus, looking into the Western market. Now, what makes the F4F SD not just simply big? Oh yeah, it's bought it over from Japan and look, we're making it and we're a Western company. That would be just too easy. We had to put our spin on it. And what is the spin we put on it, Chocks? Well, can we just take a moment to look at the details on this? The details on this is absolutely accurate to the larger one-to-one representations of the character. So where you see the details on the swords, on his textures, we're going to have loads of close-ups here. You can sort of really get in and see all the detail work that we've done here. Now, Chocks, can we start from the top and work our way down?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the detail that I believe you don't really see in the standard kind of SDs that you see maybe in Japan or just in general. The amount of detail that we have going through this, because this really is the point that makes it very, very unique and basically makes it F4F. Because that's what we're known for. We're known for really recreating what's on the screen, what's on the, what's in the anime, what's on the screen, and translating as much of that detail as we can onto the final product. And of course we did that with Artorias, the resin version, and we do that with our products that are trying to capture that. So using that mentality, Chocks, we just said we've got to hit as much detail as we did with those and translate it into this. So Chocks, let's see how close were we to that.
I mean, first of all, I mean, like we were saying, like when we started this project, we wanted to make sure that it was as detailed as possible, because the game world was, and we were all about the detail. And just first impression, this reminds me of how some of our as you guys may know, our resin pieces are handmade, and this kind of gives off that feeling where it's handmade. And you understand when you look at the hair pieces, you get I collect PVCs myself, and sometimes you see the PVC, the very clean lines and very sharp. But this whole piece here, it has a combination of everything. It has clean lines, but at the same time it gives off that handmade, one-to-one kind of custom feel to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we spend so much time on this hair alone, playing around with different shades, different paint techniques.
Well, let's talk about paint techniques a little bit later, because I think you're absolutely right. That whole idea of getting that kind of resin feeling into this is something that's kind of really, really well translated into this. Let's just talk about the actual sculpt, and then we can talk about how the paint work has made that get that effect, which you're absolutely right and talked about. So let's just look at the details with regards to the actual texturing and the sort of minute details that you see from the actual sculpt itself.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we trying to replicate the same detailed plume like we did with the resin. So the twist around towards the end, and each individual lines, the thickness and the thinness of the lines. One impressive piece of the original resin headpiece was the actual head there. Look at the lines of the way they pop out, and some of the
it's not very flat, is it?
It's not flat, yeah. Some of them like kind of go inwards, and some of them stick outwards, and all the different battle scars around the front. How
about the textures? Can you see the kind of pitting and the kind of weathered? I'm not talking about the colours here, I'm just talking about the actual sculpt. Can you see the pitting into it? And the sort of, as you said, the battle damage, the guy's been through some wars.
Yeah. I mean, look at them. The actual head itself, the scarf, all that is different textured.
So now we're looking at the blue parts, right?
Yeah, look at the blue parts.
What can you see? Can you see the kind of cloth textures?
Yeah, cloth textures, different twists, turns, especially around the back of the cape, underneath the cape. This is before I'm talking about the paint. I mean, just the sculpt. You can actually see the patterns that actually been sculpted underneath the cape itself.
Yeah.
And then you move on to the body. The same thing, the armor. As guys that actually bought the resin version, you'll know that how the armor is very, very detailed, all the way down to the feet. The ankles, the shoulder guard as well.
Yeah.
Even the belt itself.
Basically, would you agree with me in saying that?
And this is even before I even touched the base.
Right. Well, if we just look at the sculpt itself, would you agree with me in saying that this is very, very close to the actual details that we packed in from the resin, as well as we could get it into something like this?
We spent a lot of time making sure that every section of the body is as detailed as possible.
Now, we went in with a goal, Chocks, which was to do just that. I would say that we pretty much, nailed it. I would say there's a lot of detail in there. There's a lot of, as we're saying, that we wanted to make sure that those, when you put the Artorias resin next to it, to be able to see them, absolutely can see it from there as well. So definitely that I've been happy with the way that the sculpt work has really been translated and kept and put all the way through this. Let's now talk a little bit about the paint work. Okay. It's making some noise.
Yeah, it's making noise. Maybe want to stop that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, should we just finish off the sculpt work on the base as well?
Yes, right.
The actual base, you can. The floor itself, it raises around the edges and it goes down in the middle. You can actually see the cracks between each brick, each slabs.
So it's not just one big brick, is it?
No, and it goes all the way around the edge of the base as well. You can actually see, you know, these stones sticking up, all textured.
Can we have a conversation about that flame, please, Jocks? Where did that come from?
Yeah, well,
because that's not actually at all in the resin. So what's that all about, Jocks? And can you explain why it's purple, what it's all about?
That's his special move, right?
Oh.
That's his move in the game. If you actually,
he does this sort of amazing charge up thing where you have these kind of simultaneous anti-clockwise and clockwise moving of sort of like a whirlwind, purple whirlwind that kind of goes through him. So what you can actually see, Chocks, in the sculpt work is these flames. Now these flames are done in a way where this is coming this way. We talked about the way it kind of encases him going around.
This actually brings me back. Sorry, this actually brings me back some memories. We worked on this. When we went through all the original
sculpt work
sources, right?
The
research and stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like the whirlwind. It wasn't just whirlwind itself. At the bottom of at the start of the actual motion, it looked as though there was like flames.
Flames starting.
Flames, and then it was wind and whirlwind. That's why you look at the scope. It had a different type of effect. At the bottom, they look like flames, and then you look at these that stick out around the edge.
That looks like wind.
Yeah, now it's coming back to me. Yeah, it's coming back to me.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, but it's coming back to me. That's why you have different scope work with the flames and the actual...
No, it's good because it might be actually lost if you didn't actually pay attention to that. But you're absolutely right. This ring, all the way going around, there is 2 layers, Chocks. It's the fire at the bottom with the wind starting on the inside coming out that raises above the section of the fire itself. And that, of course, allows for you to have this beautiful sculpt that really makes absolute meaning with within the actual game. So, thank you very much for stopping me to talk about that.
I'm sure I'm going to forget that later on, but I'm glad that actually, whilst we're doing this documentary, it clicked.
That's absolutely right, because in 5 years' time, when we watch this again, you'll go, "Oh yeah!"
Why did I say that last time? Yeah, and don't forget this, purple flames. If you look closer, the sword is a cursed sword, and you can see, I don't know if you can pick it up from the camera, but at the bottom of his ankles and his feet, you can see, that or the abyss is going upwards.
Did we just all of a sudden jump to painting? Because I thought we were going to start from the top again.
Oh, well, that's part of sculpting as well. So.
No, it's not.
No, it's not?
No.
What about the ground?
No.
No?
No.
The sword is, right?
The sword is.
Yeah, the sword is.
Well, the sword is, you can actually see, of course, it's physically damaged in the sense that it's physically, has the corruption, it's sort of worn it away. If you've seen how the actual abyss, you know how the sort of the great sword, actually, Artorias sword, actually looks, it's usually very, very clean.
Yeah.
But this one actually is much more damaged, etc., because it has all the corruption on it, of course. So, I think now's a really great time to talk a little bit about the actual paint work itself, okay? So now that we've got there, let's look at doing the paint work. Should we go top to bottom again then, Okay.
Right, top to bottom. Right, as from when we're talking about a scope, this hairpiece, wow, I spent a long time on this hairpiece.
This is an example of using resin style of hand painting to translate it into the PVC itself. So actually this is all done by hand. And as you said, therefore it gives you that kind of unique look where each one is slightly different and it's a bit more custom and it seems a bit more like it could be a resin, right? Yeah. It's very similar sort of style. And if you look at the brush work going throughout the helmet, have a look at that. Can you see some different colours in there, Charles?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's exactly like, we use the same technique where we did for the resin, pretty much the whole thing. That's why this has that kind of resin painted feel to it, and we use the same technique, all the weathered look, different tones of silvers, and then you have the kind of a slight browny rusty around the edges of the helmet itself.
Absolutely. So again, you said as you said, my one and your one will look very slightly different because my rust area might be slightly to the left, yours will be slightly to the right because it's all done by feel, it's all done by hand. and it therefore gives it a bit more,
gives that authentic, like handmade,
right,
hand touch to it.
Now, what I wanted to just sort of say again, and it goes on from what you talked about a little bit earlier on, and that was talking about how the Japanese style kind of SD stuff, we're talking about making it unique, right, is that, as you said, it's very, very clean lines, typically, right? And the sculpts are usually very, very smooth, as kind of what we talked about before. Yeah. So to make it F4F, we decided to use all the techniques that we learned from doing things by hand in resins, also adding lots and lots and lots of detail, and therefore that makes it an F4F SD. And as we talked about those lines being clean for the Japanese style ones, that's not about this here at all. It's not about, this is more about layer upon layer upon layer of paint textures to really give it that resin feeling, shall we say. So going down the body, we talk a little bit about the clothing itself. For example, if you look at a little bit more at like our link that we made before, or our crash, there was very minimal.
The link PVC and the crash.
Right.
PVC,
sorry. Yeah. So there's very minimal shading in there. Whereas this one, in all the grooves of the clothing, there are grooves. There's paint shading in there using spray painting. Also, the kind of, it's called the dry brush effect that's going throughout his thighs, and we can get some close-ups of that, and the sort of details even up to the belt itself of the paint. Nothing's been left undone here, Chocks. We could have easily just gone, okay, injection color and done, and a lot of people would do that. We painted all the round buckles that are going throughout the belt. We look at the details on the shoulders, the gauntlets. It's all there. Now, one of the things that we talked about was the corruption. Now, the corruption is done in a very kind of, how should I say? It's in a kind of gloss black that has a fantastic contrast to the rusty dirtiness of everything else, where it's kind of shiny and matte. So that doesn't make any sense. Metallic and matte of the armor. If you look at his legs in particular, the matte metal, I should say, it has a metal sheen to it, but it's matte in color, is contrasted beautifully with the black corruption that is basically black gloss in strategic areas. Now, if you look at the back of his calves, Jocks, can you see in the back of his calves?
Yeah.
There has this corruption going down, because if you look at his calves, and especially if you look at it in the resin as well, you can see it. You can see it here as well in the sculpt. It's like half of it's almost like it's got chicken legs. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like cut away, it's like being eaten away. And it's those areas that have been eaten away that you add that little bit of black gloss to it, that little sheen, to really highlight the whole story about Artorias, which is of course dealing with the Abyss, the corruption of the Abyss. And you can see that black gloss going throughout the entire piece, where it needs to be. Chocks, where else is there?
Well, there's black gloss on the ground itself.
Right, yeah. There's corruption on the base itself. And if you remember, Chocks, the research, if you played the game, you will see he throws it at you, it's like on the floor every time he does his move and he hits the ground, there it comes up. So when you look at the details of the paint on the base, Chocks, what do you see? Let's talk about the details on the base. That's not just done by sculpt. What do you see?
I see the moss as well.
There you go, you see moss. But I really wanted to talk about the corruption areas.
Yeah.
You see the black gloss, and what else you see around it? It's not just a single black line.
It's not just a single black line. I mean, you get the slight bluey white.
There you go.
Paint that spreads out.
3 applications on that single small area, Chuck. So you start off with the blue spray area. Okay. You then add the black gloss that goes down, which is a representation of the corruption going down the carve line, and then on the either side of that you have this little bits of white it's very, very subtle, but it gives a really authentic look when you compare it to what was in the game. So you're absolutely right, Chox. You nailed it. And that that one area has that effect on it. It's not just that one area. There's that effect throughout all the little areas where there's corruption, and there's a lot of areas in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas off the top of my head that I can see that has the corruption on there. Corruption is also throughout the sword, as we talked about. Talked about how the feet were eaten away. Right now you can really see it. It looks great in the camera. You can see the shine, the silver here of the sword, right? And then the corruption coming out over here, and the shininess again of the sword over there. Maybe you can sort of see it like that. There, right? If I hold it there, and you see it on the camera screen there. You have silver, corruption, silver. You see that, Chox? And the corruption is where the sculpt is. Kind of like eaten away. It's not that sharpness anymore. It's kind of, very, very eaten away kind of feeling. So that is something that we got that working. We got that, added into this to have that gloss effect, to really bring that in and have that corruption tell the story. Have the paint really tell the story. Loud.
Yeah.
They need to get a new one, guys. All right. Cool.
Right, next question from Brendan Rostello. What did you learn from your previous PVC products that you apply to the DS line?
All right, Chox. I think it's time.
Yeah.
We should show the construction of this, of how we got this done.
Yeah.
Okay? All right, I'm going to pause this here, and let's bring on all the pieces that make it.
Right now, yeah?
Yep. Now, Jeffrey, you can edit this bit, cut this bit here. We're going to start putting it on there. We can have it on the table next to you, I guess. Or...
To the side or something?
Yeah, to the side, make it a little bit better. Put it on the top here. Bunch of shit on it as well. How it's tons of internal settings, ABS. Check it out, guys. Here it is, the 3D jigsaw puzzle that we always like to create when we're doing one of these. And of course, this one has been even harder than the other ones that we've made before.
Yeah.
By far the more complicated one, and of course that is way over 50 plus parts. There are some doubles up here, but we've only got some of the selection, but enough to demonstrate some of the engineering ideas and aspects behind actually making this piece itself. So one of the things I wanted to say, Chox, is when Brendan Rostello asked us, what do we learn from the previous PVC products that we made that we applied to the DS line? Well, you know what? We've always learned and known what to do with this, and that is really paying attention to the engineering aspect of things. one of the challenges I said earlier on was to take that big body, that big head, into a small body, I should say, and small feet. From an engineering aspect, we could have aesthetically just made the feet bigger and been, okay, that's cool, much easier. But we didn't quite feel it had the right fit to it. Mm-hmm. So how do we make engineering a slave to design? Well, this is what we've done. It's a mixture between ABS and PVC, which has always been the key, and it's the key here as well. Now, ABS chocks is the kind of really, really, really hard type of material, but it's also, but when it's thick, it's like super, super solid. You can't break it or anything like that. If it's thin, it's brittle, can snap very, very easily. So it's a complete understanding of the properties of PVC and ABS. Now, PVC is much softer, more malleable. It's a very, very important understanding of both materials concurrently that allows for you to have the overall effect. I'm actually going to say a lot of this is actually ABS and not PVC because of the internal structures that we need to make sure that it works and make sure it's all okay. Actually means that it's had to do it that way for us to say that it passes an aging test where we put it in an oven for 48 hours at 50 plus degrees to see what happens to it. And I can absolutely say you this is passed with flying colors. So why don't we talk a little bit about, why don't we just go something easy and just talk a little bit about the helmet and going into the head. So you've got your helmet there, Chogs? Yeah. This is actually PVC. So this one is very big, it's a solid piece, it's thick. You got a bit of, you can feel a bit of movement there, Chogs. You see that? Yeah, as you said. And now you can sort of see how those are the different ridges and grooves that you get with the actual production piece and the sculpt work. You can really sort of see it when you hold it and really look into it. See that, Chogs?
It's hollow.
Do that later. Then, if you have a look at the helmet, this part here. I should say the cloth face. Mm-hmm. You can just see how that slots in. You see there's a groove here and a groove here, and how that just sort of goes to slot in nicely.
Ooh, that's a long way.
It's got a needs a face.
There you go.
Now, if you notice along there, Chogs, can you see? Sorry, just want to bring that open up. Just see that again. Yeah. Can you see? There's like little lines cut down there. I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera. There's lots of sort of horizontal lines and grooves. You see that?
Yeah. No.
Do you know what that's there for?
What?
Basically, what it's used for is when you place the glue on there, it kind of helps the gluing process because it kind of fits inside those grooves.
Yeah.
And therefore gets you to have that bit more adhesive next to it.
More grip.
There you go. So there he is. Sticks that on there nicely. Got the head done there, right?
Yeah.
Now that's just pretty standard. If we have a look at his cape, if you look at his cape, he's got these pegs on there. Have you got a body there, Chogs?
Yeah.
I'll just do this on this one here. You've got this one, yeah. So if you look at the body, there is a hole here and a hole there. See that, Chogs? A hole at the front and a hole at the back. And that absolutely is for this.
This is soft, malleable.
There you go. This is PVC.
Yeah. Patterns on both sides. Shadings, paintwork.
Yeah. Well, this is a mixture between the injection PVC color and the actual painted pieces there. So you can see there you go. That's how it's attached in that part. And of course, you can just slot that directly onto the body, and now you're beginning to see the construction of the PVC. Now, I don't need to sort of go through each part and show you all of that. And of course, as you said, the hair, is another example of...
The hair itself, how many pieces?
Yeah, you can see there's this part here is separate here.
Yeah, this part here.
And another part up here. So this is actually 3 pieces.
Yeah.
This is one section, this is another 2 section, and of course the main piece. Now, of course, we could just keep going through that, that connects into this part. What's it? The thigh bone connects to the knee bone, etc., etc. So that's all pretty standard. And as I said, this goes into the hair, etc. And of course, you need to have glue to assemble it, etc., etc. But you're now getting the idea of how that's sort of constructed. What I wanted to bring this out and show is mainly about the internal skeleton. And I think a great example of that is how we can keep that pose and not have it worrying for it to start drooping or what have you. A great example of this, Chocks, will be to explain how we're going to do the hand itself. The hand holding the heavy sword in a very, very tiny area of the arm. Let's start with this. This is the blade, Chocks, right? And the blade itself goes into almost like, we'll call it the sort of the guard. Yeah, it's kind of connected with the guard. And that goes directly on to that.
Yep, so let's strike through it.
I did it the wrong way, which I said I wouldn't do it, but I did. There you go. Okay. Now, the first thing you'll notice, Chocks, when you put it in, is what do you see on the bottom? Well, I say, what do you see on the blade?
This bit.
Yeah.
Well, just the part of the sword is sticking out of the.
Now, can you tell me what is this material of the black on the top there? What's the material there?
It's ABS.
No, it's PVC.
Yeah, it is ABS.
Because why is that, Chocks? There is zero structural necessity for that to be ABS. ABS is only for structural reasons.
Yeah.
Look at this sword. The sword is totally straight. ABS is beautifully perfect for that. What did I say PVC is? Really malleable and bendy. You make that blade in PVC, I promise you.
Is it not bendy?
This is not PVC, this is ABS.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, if you made it in PVC, you hold it like that for more than...
Like that. If you made it in PVC, it'd be like that.
There you go. There's a massive difference between ABS and PVC with regards to... Now, of course, it's thin, right? You're going to have a little bit of it, but I can tell you over time, if you had this in PVC, we like it. That's how we like it. We don't like Alright, so we have it perfectly straight. Now, the guard itself is ABS. It's PVC, as we said. It's malleable. Why? Because it's not integral to the overall stability of the pose. So we don't care about this not being in ABS because it's useless. All it is just visual, right? To make the shape of the sword. So what happens with that? The next part is this part over here, Chocks.
Yeah, this bit. Oh, sorry.
No, this part here,
yeah,
which is again a PVC. Okay, or it might be a PVC. I believe it's PVC because it's not again integral to it. Because what happens, Chocks? You slide that over.
Don't break it here.
Don't break it. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Slide that over. You done that?
Yeah, no.
Okay. Now we again have a little bit, it's not as long anymore because we had that guard over here, that design pattern there. And then we have here, which is
it's like a bishop.
well, if you look at it from that way.
Yeah.
Now this, again, this is made of ABS.
Yeah.
You try your best, mate. Keep going.
Solid.
Yep, there you go. I told you the thickness on that. You're not doing anything with that. That then goes into here. Okay? Now what do you notice on the sword hilt? You actually see his fingers. Now his fingers are also made in ABS. Right? On top of that, it's actually directly connected to the actual handle. Hilt, I say, yeah. No, the handle. Then you have this part here, this piece here. Oh, it's actually it's a little pice here.
Yeah, it should
it's
be
not
a
even.
single
Yeah, small little piece there. Which again,
here's one I made earlier.
yeah. This is also ABS, and that is super, super solid as well. Because now we're talking let's talk again about the integral part. The internal part is this blade that goes up into past this sword hilt. Sorry, the guard into the actual hilt over here. Or should I say the handle plus hilt, which includes the fingers, and then on top of that you have the hand, which then the thumb goes underneath the bottom and grips the bottom of the handle, making it look like it's holding it properly. It's like an illusion, because actually, as I said to you before, the fingers are already casted directly onto the hand, if that makes sense. Yeah. Now the beauty of Artorias's design is that his fingers have to bend, and there's like grooves, like layered effects, Chocks, that sort of does like covers the joints. And the beautiful thing is that we've managed to use that sort of knuckle shape of the joints as the perfect area to cut along in order to make it not look so obvious when you... Because unless you're looking for a Chocks, you're not going to see it, are you? Mm-hmm. You can see it when it's painted, also because it's not facing directly towards you. You can't actually see it too well.
Yeah, you can't see it.
And so
you know because we just explained it, but...
But
if you look at it, it's like...
You'll be like, oh, now I see it if I'm looking for it, right?
If you're looking for it, yeah.
Okay. So now you have this hand going into this, it's now gripping the handle, and as you made one earlier, Chocks, that then pops onto this, which again...
See, that's the hand that went into this. This goes into... Oops.
That goes into the elbow guard.
Elbow guard, yeah.
Which then slots into the upper arm, which then slots into the body. And that is pretty much the design throughout the entirety of it, Chocks. The clever way where the long part, so you have this part over here, right, and how it's, oh Jesus, yeah. You know, they're all. You can hear that nice click into it, right? It's all done in a way where we're really considering the strength of the internal ways that all the parts connect to each other, so you don't have it drooping over time. The same thing can be talked about for the legs. I mean, let's take a look at the legs. This, Chocks, what material is this? It's nice and soft, right? This is PVC, and why is that? It's because the internal part is here. It goes right through the body. That's the hard bit we should consider. And if you look at the legs, I've got some legs. Oh, you got some legs. You got one as well?
No.
All right, you do it. See how that fit other way around? Is that right?
This way around.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, thanks. So you've got an example of how that has slotted in, and then you've got another internal piece. I think is this piece over here, right? You want... Go on, Chocks, have a go, mate.
No, forget that. That's if you guys had a chance to watch the Breath of the Wild Link and the Crash, you see this white piece. This piece is solid.
So actually, look, I'll show you how this works. This part goes directly into here. That goes through that, right? Now all of a sudden you have this. Now before you saw it fitted, but actually that groove is where this goes. See that, Chocks?
Yeah.
And then that goes, it connects onto this piece here. And therefore you've got this part, not just slotting into there, but it also, not only does it slot into the PVC on the top, but it also slots into the main bit of skeleton, which is this white thing. That white thing, once you got that, you know you're in good hands, right? So that leads to, again, the legs slotting into here. There was an example of it slotting, you've got one of the feet. So one of the feet, so an example of this, right? Here's one of the legs and how this slots through this. And what do you see at the bottom there, Chocks? Look at that. Watch that again.
Yeah. Goes straight through to the boot.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, if you look at that and then you apply it onto here, stick that on there. You now know. You can just sort of see how that is. You can now see that it's not just the front foot that has the. It's not just this, because if you look at the foot itself, it already has a peg here, right, Chocks? But this is a PVC peg. It's not. Oh no, this is ABS as well. Sorry, yeah. But you also have the added benefit of this one over here sticking through there, which then plugs into it.
All right, put it through there again. So there's two holes at the bottom. This is where the leg is plugging in, and there's another piece of plastic sticking out here.
Yeah, and there's another cap on the inside part. that's over here. So
this part here, which goes into that part.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Now, what is that you've got over there, Chocks? Well, let's just have a quick look at this. This is the bottom part of the base. If we have another look of it, an unassembled one. This is this one over here. You can see it's there, and it has a nice sort of design. It says Dark Souls, Artorias, Abysswalker, SD, etc., etc. It's got a nice little cool picture of the head,
line drawing of the head.
Yeah, and then etc., etc. The legal lines, etc., etc. So that is the scenario with that. But then what have you got over here, Chocks? You've got yourself a metal thing over there.
So if you've picked up one of our PVC Crash Bandicoot or Breath of the Wild Link, you definitely feel the weight. This is the weight.
Yeah, it's got a really, really good weight to it. Added to it, and it means that when you pick it up, it's got some weight to it, which you wouldn't quite. And that's trying to give it. There's no reason aesthetically to do it. It's just wants to give it that a little bit more premium feel, Chocks. And as you said, those little grooves have some space for you to add that little bit extra for it to hold that itself. Chocks.
Yeah.
You want to have a show about that crazy construction of the old
the flames.
Of the flames.
Oh wow, this is the fun part. Guys, so let's start dismantling this. So basically, as we said, there's the wind effect and the flame effect around the edges. This took me, this is like playing one of those puzzle games. So, so basically, let's do this together. One part.
Yeah, I'll take that.
That's a wind effect.
Yep.
And the other side of the wind effect. There you go.
Yep.
And then, boom, left and right side of the flames.
Do these connect together? Let me see. Oh, they
they
go into those ones.
So you can see the grooves and the slots that goes around the edge.
Yeah.
And then straightforward like that. That goes around that, and then the remaining wind effect will go up inside the fire effect.
Absolutely.
So 4 separate parts to the top layer of the base.
So there you go, guys. That really is some of the sort of engineering aspects that we went into it with regards to the design of the engineering to make sure that it arrives you safely and make sure that it doesn't fall over time. So Brendan, hopefully that answers your question. Ooh, well, hopefully you guys learned a little bit more about engineering of those PVCs right there. I think that really answered Brendan's question.
Yep. Right, next question. Move along. Jeremy Beerson. In what way, if any, was SD Artorias and Solaire more challenging than the Resin Artorias and Solaire?
So we're going to be making a Solaire as well. We've shown the prototype of that for the SD version of Solaire. Some bros looking very, very cool. We'll follow up that with another video later on in the year. But just to say, the fact that we did the bigger one first and then made these versions afterwards really, really, really helped a lot. The difficulty was making Artorias. No doubt he is the first of the Dark Souls SD line, and as a result it took us a lot of time for the development of the actual proportions, right, Chocks? But once we had that template down, Sunbro was super easy to make as a result, and we can talk about that more in his video. But just to say that the whole idea of knowing that we wanted to make sure that the details that we had in the original one was also in the smaller one meant that we could really consider that and have a goal, a very clear goal, right from the start. So we knew what we wanted to do, we knew how to do it, and that's what we executed. So in terms of the only difficulty was getting that template. It's nothing to necessarily to do with Artorias himself.
I'll say difficult is this is going to be our very first SD character in the SD line, and we had to make sure that we spend a lot more time on the design aspects, research, making sure the proportions right, planning ahead, future characters down the line, how they're going to look together, and then as you were saying, once we've got that template nailed down, the rest kind of just fit in. It's like the next character we did was straightforward. We knew what special effects we wanted to do for Solaire. We knew what kind of pose, what kind of what kind of paint technique to use from what we learned from the Solaire. So everything kind of just improvement after improvement.
Yeah. So, absolutely. We already had a goal. We knew what we needed to do. There wasn't anything challenging in that respect because we knew exactly what we had to do, where we needed to go. And we didn't rest until we got there.
And the same with the, because we had some previous experience with Crash Bandicoot, PVC, and Breath of the Wild Link, and that kind of like a mixture of both. PVC world, Resin world, combine that, and we have the SD line.
That's an F4F SD right there, mate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool.
All right, next question. Brenton Friedley. How many different SD pieces do you plan on making?
Well, I can say that we have already made Soler, and there are already one.
Maybe, guys, when you pick up one of our
I'm not going to say who it is, but
there's a little.
There's already one, two. One's already another one's in physical
3D.
mode. Physical.
Mode.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, physical.
All right.
And two more in design ways.
That's
design
right.
work.
Yeah.
Basically, please support this. We love making these. We want to keep on going.
Yeah, we
and
want to go
a
deep
whole
with this
series.
line.
A whole
Yeah.
series. I think it'll be absolutely awesome. So the answer is a lot.
We'll keep a lookout inside the Artorias packaging as a hint to the next couple of Dark Souls SD characters.
Absolutely.
Right. Next question. Alessio Bucci. I love a mini Sith. Will you make it in the future?
Can you make one without the other? Say no more.
That was a very quick answer.
There you go.
Right,
because I realised how long this video is. So.
Last but not least, Matthew Goggans. Can this style be possible for other lines like Berserk and Soul Calibur?
I can absolutely tell you that we already have in the works items from different lines. I won't say if it's from Soul Calibur or Berserk or anything like that, but I believe that this sort of style is applicable for a variety of different things. In fact, I think everything can be SD-ified.
Yeah.
So
just you can imagine resin quality, very detailed characters, affordable price, easily accessible, complements with resin, or the rest of your PVC line. And if you love action poses, museum poses, different special effects, detailed bases, I think we've got everything covered.
Absolutely. So the answer to that is it's absolutely possible. We're already working on something, and that's looking tight as well. We look forward to showing you that as well, guys. So yes, and absolutely, and we will, and yes. That's not about Berserk or just say. So absolutely, Chogs, this is a universal design, and that's why the first one was always the hardest, just to make sure that we were happy with the style. And in order to answer this question that Jonathan Jacobowski asks, which was, what makes your one unique? What makes it F4F? And that is the reason why we feel that we can offer something like that. Cool. All right, Chox. What's next?
Can test measurements.
I was going to say shout-outs, but...
Really? Oh, you want to do shout-outs first? Because we kind of switch them up every so often. Let's do some shout-outs.
Yeah.
All right then. All on you then.
But what are they?
Right, shout-outs, what are they? Well, basically, as earlier on I was saying, when we make a post in the Collectors Club with regards to asking us questions of the SD line, in there, randomly, I will place a comment saying, hey, first 10 people to reply to this comment will get a shout-out from Alex. There you go.
I want to give the first shout out to Jeffrey, who's our video editor, who's going to have to add in all these pictures afterwards, and he does it in such like an amazing way. So you'll see it kick in 3, 2, 1. Shout out to Brendan Rostello, bada bing bada boom to Matt Watkins. What's going on with Derek Baker? Always there. JC in the group. We have her as a lovely admin. That's Jessica Castic. We have Hector Morales. How's it going, mate? We have Chris Hildebrand Jr. gets a shout out and a question answered. We have Anto Jambon, how's it going, mate? Ryan Rostello as the Double Trouble with Brendan brothers. We've got Ashley Lian, how's it going, mate? And last but not least, Tim Hammond. How did that go?
Perfect.
Bada bing, bada boom. Sweet. Let's do the measurements. All right, let's do it. Turn this around and the can test.
It's probably one of the easiest can tests we've ever done.
Yeah. Make that nice and straight. There you go, Chox. 2 cans, just a bit under.
Just a bit under 2 cans.
Just a bit under 2 cans. Got a about there. Don't forget the angle of the thing is slightly angled down, so it's slightly off, but over here is where it's at.
Go on, guys. Perfect space, right? For your
Perfect
work,
space.
office desk, home
There
desk.
you go. Bring your F4Fs to your office.
Take
There
them
you go.
around. Take them to different sceneries and take some nice outdoor photos, because it's not often you can actually take your resin piece outside your house.
Exactly.
But, these PVCs are quite
There you go.
unique in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Size?
My turn. Yeah.
Your turn.
Not that long, but usually it's about here for our resins, but this is nice. Around 8 inches.
There you go.
So this is our the packaging will also say 8-inch PVC, because that's how we got this SD line around about the same height in that scale. We've got the width, obviously this might be a little bit wider than usual because of the sword. So I've got that around about 7.5 inches, which is around about 19 centimeters. So 8 inches, 20 centimeters. 7.5 inch, around 19 centimeters. All right, then we've got the depth, which is from the front of the flame to the back of the sword. You know, I've kind of given you a little bit more extra space for placement. So we've got 7.5 inches from the front to the back,
right,
which is roughly, again, about 19 centimeters. Yeah.
Cool.
And then last but not least, the weight. Ooh, around about 590 grams.
All in, yeah? 590. Which is...
Well, around about between 550 to 590.
Which, you know, Chocks, for a PVC, that's got some weight to it.
True.
That has got some weight. We've got the added weight that we talked about adding onto that. And especially when you consider that the whole body itself is quite thin and small. Okay, it's not the head, of course. But of course, also his head is... hollow.
That's right.
Absolutely. So there you go. So we have that. Now, Chocks. One of the things we like to do here at F4F is we like to do a little something
unique.
Something different, something unique, etc. I'm going to remove this out of the way. And that, Chocks, is an exclusive version. Boom! Check it out, guys. Here we go.
You need a help?
Oh, there we go. Boom! Check it out. Like, it looks the same. Or does it? What can you see? Can you see any difference there, guys? Let's give it a bit of a spin. What we have here is the regular version, and we have here an exclusive version that is only going to be available on our website, www.versafigures.com, and with it is a very slight couple of slight differences, and I think if you can spot it, you can really sort of see it around about here. You can see it at any sort of angle. If we just sort of turn this towards the camera like that, we turn this towards the camera like that. Can I say, Chop? Can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Pause this button right now. Pause the video right now if you think you see it. Say it out loud because I'm about to say what it is.
Spot the difference.
Yeah.
Spot the difference.
In 3, 2, 1. Have you paused it? Boom! Look at that. Bigger base. You see here, Chocks, this has got a third extra. Right now you see this is pretty much 2 layers. One upper ridge and one lower brick, right? But this one actually has 1, 2, 3. Now there's a reason why this comes with a thicker base. It's not just because we decided to make it a thicker base. There's a reason for that. I just wanted to just sort of say, Chocks, that this is actually still a sort of resin sample for the base. The figure is exactly the same. Just the base itself, we making the molds at the moment, that's no problem. I'm fully confident they will look exactly the same as this, just thicker. And that is, it's thicker to house something, Chocks. And it's thicker to house some batteries. Let's explain why. Here we go, Chocks. Can you even see it in the dark? Look at how bright this is. We're going to do some overlays. Jeffrey, hit that overlay now. Now you can see we're in one mode. And this mode is where it is lights are on and we can have this bluey purple effect going through the flames. just to give it a little bit of extra authenticity. Just to have it a little bit extra, I guess in the dark it looks that much better, right? And hopefully Jeffrey's doing that overlay of that single mode. Now of course, there is another mode, Chocks. The whole idea about the flame effect and the wind effect is that whole movement of the counterclockwise, 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 counterclockwise. So it's this kind of movement. And you know, I'm gonna now show you guys, we have that actually in a different mode. If we just move it across, and there you guys can see you have a movement of it going throughout it all. Now, Jeffrey, let's have you overlay that as well. Sorry, take that out. Overlay the video in the dark so you can get a better effect of the movement within that. So it's a nice little added effect there, Chocks, that we wanted to include for every single exclusive version that will be shown on our website. So what do you think about that, Chocks, about the animation effects and sort of adding towards the realism?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the actual PVC kind of like describes how the actual movement is with the flames and the wind effect, but adding the animated LEDs just gives it that little bit more movement.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're really happy to have that introduced and added to this version for the exclusive version. So that's really, really something nice. Now, the exclusive version that comes only via our website also comes with something. If you purchase a Crash PVC exclusive, you're going to have a sort of idea of what that is. And that's going to come with a beautiful, beautiful box. Before we show that though, why don't we show the regular box that it comes with?
Sure.
Boom! Now check that out, guys. Sandy has done an amazing job on designing this. Now, this needs to go and represent us on the world stage, in the you know, in the marketplace, etc., etc., at the sort of retailers. And the design of it is supposed to look beautiful on a shelf itself. Now, obviously, there's lighting and reflections on that.
Sorry about the glare, guys, but yeah, as I was saying, regular packaging, open window style. You can see from all different angles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if we just have a look at the front before I start telling you, you can see this beautiful pattern on the front. What does that look like to you, Chocks?
Looks like Artorias.
Oh, well, that's really useful because it is Artorias. Yeah. So it's a beautiful sort of helmet design. You see that, the way it comes from the front? Look at that, guys. Beautiful helmet design. Of course, if you look at the top, there is this lovely pattern. Where does that pattern come from, Chocks?
I believe it's from his cloak. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Going through his scarf,
unless
etc.
there's been some design changes, but no, it should be from his cloak. The pattern on the back of his cloak.
So, and you can see that how the helmet comes through to the other side.
Yeah. Both sides.
Both sides. It really is a represent. You can sort of see how that translates. It looks really, really, really great, guys. And of course, you have a lovely picture of it on the front. You know, First Figures, etc., Dark Souls, etc., Artorias, in the name of that. And that is the front, sides, and of course, if you look around at the back, here is the. It's still subject to final approval, of course. You've got your barcode. You've got your credits.
The close-up photo.
Hey, Chocks, I'm on there, and so are you.
Am I?
Yeah.
Close-up photos, guys.
Yep. And yeah, you know, it's gonna go and do its job. It's gonna go and represent us. Going to go into the some more legal lines on the bottom over there. It's going to go onto the shelves. It's going to be our mini ambassadors to help promote the brand, etc., etc.
This is still there's still some final touches needed for the packaging because obviously this is the first SD line, and we still need to implement the SD logo in here,
which we actually have designed since.
We've designed it. All the logo's actually been shown in the Collectors Club, but once this is finally done out in the market, then you'll see the logo here. You have the if you bought one of our Breath of the Wild links and Crash, you will see the flashy holographic First Figures genuine sticker there. So, boom. Man, if you bought the other two PVCs, this complements it because it's pretty much the same, similar style packaging.
Absolutely.
As the other two, so it complements with the normal PVC line.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, inside Chocks there is a backdrop. Do you want to show that?
Yeah. Well, I just reviewed that away. I should have did an unboxing first.
Sorry.
First unboxing video in a making video. So firstforfigures.com, usual.
Yeah.
Look at that. The pattern goes all the way inside for the inner flaps.
Yeah.
And the lids. And then look what we have here. Oops. Look what we have here. Can you guys recognize this? Recognize that picture in the background? Ooh. Then we have obviously we have the clamshell PVC over there.
And what we've done actually, Chocks, if you can see, is we've actually cut out
the
front of the face, and we've done that on purpose so that it's not double covered. Because if you have the clamshell at the front and you have this window here as well, so the window at the front here, it basically kind of hard to see it. So we cut it out the front so
it
you
looks
can see
very blurry and washy when you look through the actual.
That's why we cut it out there. You can sort of see it.
Yeah. And then, as always, last but not least, we have.
Now this, of course, is the exclusive version, but you get the idea.
And as always before with previous PVCs, you have a little instruction leaflet underneath the statue. And in there you will see the instructions on how to cut out this diorama backdrop.
Remove this part here, and remove the top.
And the easiest way is to kind of like fold these behind all the way back. And then now we're kind of replicating Artorias in the kind of a Colosseum
there you go, absolutely.
arena.
There you go, guys. So yeah, that is what comes in the standard box. There is, of course, a little leaflet in there. Comes with F4F wall points. And of course, in there is, I can show you a little mock-up of it over here, right, Chocks? There you go, guys. This is the Dark Souls leaflet. In here, there is the kind of, were you talking about the instructions for how to use the diorama to cut around there? This is a lot of our previous Dark Souls in the lines. You can see, of course, what we have here. You see here we have Sith, Artorias, Soler, and of course we have Ornstein there. And then inside this bit I'm looking over here, which I won't show you, if I just turn it like that. There is over here, there is reward points. This is the front cover again. I haven't shown you what's on the inside of here, because on the inside is a confirmation of
the next one.
Yes, which we know is Soler.
We know it's Soler.
But there's one in there that's a nice silhouette, which I think is kind of obvious of what it is. And it shows the pose and all that sort of stuff. So I look forward to you guys actually receiving yours and telling us and letting us know in the club. Speaking of which, Chocks, in the club, on the back, join the club if you haven't joined it. Awesome, awesome community. Always loads of sneak peeks, loads and loads of upcoming updates. If you're interested in F4F products, that's the place to be. You're going to see a lot of us there. Chocks, myself, be there all the time. So make sure you do check it out. So all of the regular versions, of course, come with this leaflet, as will all the exclusives, because the exclusive comes everything that the regular has, but with a very, very beautiful packaging. And I'm very, very excited to show you guys what that looks like. And here we go, guys.
A premium
box. Now, what do we see on the side? We have here the F4F logo. Now, this is a mock-up, Chocks.
This is just a placeholder.
It's just a placeholder, and you can actually see the SD logo here, etc. Now, this is just a placeholder because all of this is going to be in beautiful gold foil, not necessarily gold foil. It's going to be in metallic foil. So going on there, this is what you see here is just a mock-up, and it's missing all the special effects that you're going to have on there, which will look really, really awesome. And what we've done is we've done it in this kind of shoebox design this time. Why, Chocks? Right now you can see the regular version in here. Now, of course, if you look at the bottom of the base, the bottom of this one here, you can see, again, this is going to be in a silver foil. If that one's for sure, it's going to be a silver foil. You're going to have a number here. Now, Chocks, why is there going to be a number there?
This is the exclusive version.
This is the exclusive version, and they are all numbered.
If you guys have been collecting with us, or this is the first time you listen to us, basically our exclusive version of this new SD line will be, all will have a numbered box, which means a numbered base. Basically, this is a first come first serve, first statue in the new DS line, so low numbers are up for grabs.
Absolutely. Now, this is a mock-up of what will happen. This is the authenticity card that will come with each product, and what you will have on there is a unique code that matches and corresponds to the number that's written here and on the bottom of the base
of
the exclusive. So this is of course the exclusive version here. Now this is still just a mock-up of the base, but on the bottom there will be an area that will allow for us to write the number of it. Right?
Yeah, if you bought our Crash exclusive on the website, the base itself will come in with these 4 sticky pads, and then you have obviously the etching of the Artorias head at the bottom, and then on the side will say, the edition size, and the number that you place the pre-order.
Absolutely. Now this, of course, is going to be in this beautiful pattern that Sandy's design is going to go all around. It's going to be in some silver foil. Again, this is just the mock-up. It's going to look absolutely beautiful, and we have here a kind of like a thread pull. Now, why is that, Chocks? Because
so that's that.
We're looking at it from the top view,
the top,
right?
So kind of
exactly.
Back,
and this actually fits perfectly on top. That is the first thing that you'll see when you open up the case. Now, of course, we have something called a day 1 edition, Chocks.
So you open like that.
Yeah. We have something called a day 1 edition, Chocks.
Yeah.
Now that represents the first day of validation, or ordering, I should say, validation period, when Artorias exclusive SD goes up for pre-order. Now with that comes with an additional signed card, which is going to be here. This is the day 1 card. It's the mock-up of the day 1 card, and this is the same as the authenticity card.
So normal standard affairs, you get a authenticity card with the actual product, and if you actually purchase the SD Artorias line during day 1, you will get an additional card signed. So
that's right.
This is just a mock-up, but this is what it credit card size, and that will slide in. I'm trying to hold the box. That will slide back in to the slot. And the same with the day 1 edition. And Sandy was kind enough to create
two versions of it. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Which one?
Guys, if you join us on the launch day, Alex and I will create a poll in the Collectors Club where we will give you guys the chance to select either design number 1 or design number 2, and then you guys make the decision. And usually the front and the back have different designs.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that is those 2 versions, and of course we're kind of going in backwards here, Chocks.
Yeah.
Here is the gorgeous front.
Yes.
This is the top, I should say.
Yeah.
This is going to be again in foil. What you see in that kind of white is going to be this beautiful reflective foil, and we will be. Make sure you join the club, because we will be showing you production updates of when we get to the physical box.
Everything from the product itself to the packaging, the whole shebang.
Beautiful. And this is going to be in silver foil again for the Dark Souls. And if you can see that kind of slightly lighter purple going across there, and underneath you see that, that's going to be in a reflective gloss finish. You know what that? So that really means that it's kind of subtle. You only see it from different angles. Of course, this is just a mock-up. You can't see it from this one, and obviously it is what it is. You can't see it from this style, but that's what it will look like. And of course, this as well will be in that gloss UV. This of course is Artorias' line face.
Yep.
Can't get enough Dark Souls. You can't get enough Artorias' faces. So there you go, guys. That is what the front looks like. That is what would happen as soon as you open it. Of course, it just we can sort of bend. Yeah, exactly. So that is an idea of how that would be. Well, again, this is a mock-up, guys.
There's a lot of trapped hair in there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But we'll make sure this goes in really nicely, and it doesn't go all the way down. It goes to around about an inch.
Well, it's not supposed to go to the bottom, because you're supposed to show this beautiful bottom part here. So it's a beautiful, beautiful final packaging like that. And the thing about this, Chocks, is the reason why we changed it from the Crash's one is because a lot of people really love the Crash box, but they felt they couldn't use it, but they couldn't throw it away because it's beautiful.
It was a great design for the box for Crash. It was basically a crate from the game. A lot of people loved that idea. But some people wanted, hey, I want to open the box up, but at the same time I want to display my figure. And sometimes it got it. Yeah. Sometimes opening that box took quite a lot of space, so we went back to the drawing board.
We took this, right, you can remove this, you could put that on the inside.
You can actually, take the regular edition box out, place this
on the inside.
Inside of the box.
And therefore put this like a shoebox design and put this
behind.
And therefore slide that in.
Oops. There you go.
There you go. So now you have the ability to check out your, in case you don't want to unbox your PVC.
Yeah, that's right. Some collectors do, buy one to play, buy another one for display,
and they need a third one for a
rainy day.
Boom!
Yeah, so this is what it looks. Look at that space-saving design.
Now, just to be clear, guys, of course, what you see in there is the regular version. Of course, it would be only the exclusive version that comes inside the actual packaging itself. It's not obviously the regular version. We just use that as a mock-up, but so you get a better idea of what that would look like. So yeah, Chocks, I think it's really, really, really cool. I like how Sandy's designed it. I'm really happy with the redesign on that. What do you think, Chocks? Are you happy with how the packaging came out?
Definitely, because I believe the Crash PVC packaging box was very, very well done, because we actually use very solid thick cards. This is not cheap card, this is like very solid, and we did very well in packaging that, because when we package these, when the time comes to shipping, this will come in its own brown box, obviously with nice etching of Artorias head on around the sides like we did with Crash, and then that brown box will be placed inside another shipper box, so it'll be shipped out to you in perfect condition.
With corners.
With spongy corners as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one more thing, Chocks, I forgot to say, maybe you can't see it in this, looking at it, there is a lovely kind of texture, kind of like fabric texture, like the kind of cloth that he has, that's going throughout the kind of leather sort of texture going throughout the top. Yeah. Great, great, great design, and hopefully you guys agree. I mean, look at that. I'll be very, very happy having that on my shelf, for sure. Alright guys, so that pretty much is it. But one thing we wanted to do, and before we leave you, is just take a little quick bit of time to give you the details of the weight and the size of this. Right, so let's just quickly do that, because we haven't done it for the exclusive version.
Okay.
So let me just remove this. Okay. The height, again, is, we're only talking about a little bit extra, which is the sort of difference on the bottom over here. So again, it's pretty much the same, just under 2.
The same, yeah. The measurement for the regular version was around about 8, but in comparison to this, it's probably about half an inch difference.
Yeah. And the weight, similar.
Weight around about 590 grams. So the regular should be a little bit lighter, because obviously we still need to put the battery inside here.
Yeah. And this actually isn't the final one, but it's pretty similar. All right, Chocks, I think it's time for you to bring in the OG big boy, just so we can compare it to the Artorias SD, just so we can sort of see how they really complement each other. So I'm just going to move this one across, and Chocks, why don't you just bring in Big Brother. Remember to bend at the knees and not at the back. Safety 101, guys.
Yep. Those guys that are lucky enough to have a Resin RT.
Yep.
This is what they both will look like
together. Check it out, guys.
Collection.
Side by side, they really, really complement each other. And we'll just turn the lights on with this guy. Okay, there you go. Check it out, guys. So, as we said, we wanted to have the SD version really complement the bigger one as well. And you can really sort of see now just how much they go together, Chocks. What do you think?
Yeah.
Why don't you do some comparisons?
Detailed scope lines, the paintwork, the effects. Yeah, I mean, I never get bored of looking at this Artorias piece, and looking at the SD lines, it grows on me every time I look on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it goes it's a testament to show just how similar they are in terms of the as you said, the sculpt details, all that sort of stuff, but mainly the textures on there and how we translated that and put it into the PVC version as well. So let us know what you guys think. We really hope that you guys like what we've done because, as I said, we've got Solaire coming up, and the way Solaire SD matches up with Solaire Resin, they look really great together as well.
Resin style in PVC form. I don't think there's anything that's ever been done.
Right.
That's the uniqueness of this.
There you go. That's the F4F SD for you. So why did we go with this design, Chalks? Well, I think this is really clear. The way that they look together, the way they complement each other, the way that they both have the corruption on the floor, corruption on the back of the legs, the corruption within the actual cloak itself. He also has it over here. The details that you see in here, even going down to, you know, some of the same sort of battle scarring on the back of the helmet. You also see the battle scarring on the back of the helmet here. That kind of detail on the helmet on the front, etc., and just wants to sort of look great next to each other. Even if you count the ridges, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you count them on the feet of the smaller version, it's all there. We set out for a goal, Chalks. Let's recreate Artorias in our unique SD style. How do we do? Did we hit our goal?
Well, we'll have to let the club members decide.
There you go, guys. Yeah. So, I personally think we did a really good job in capturing all of that. That was something that I really wanted to be very particular about, to try and make sure that we captured that. I think we've done just that, and I'm proud of what we've done there today. And one more thing, of course, is that they look great together, but also that he looks great on his own. And as we get further down this Dark Souls SD line, it's going to start becoming more and more of a collection. Right now it's the first one. So those that support us early on, we much appreciate that, because it's going to be the start of an entire line. So why don't we just have another pause it there, so you can really sort of see how they complement each other. And again, if you just have him on his own, he also looks just great. Yeah. Let's fast forward a couple of years, Chalks, and have this conversation with you know, 5, 6, 7 of these right in front of each other on this very table.
It's been fun. I mean, it's a short journey with regards to PVCs, because they normally take a shorter time than compared to resins, but the packaging, the full works, I can't wait for you know, the next couple ones down the line, and SD lines for the other IPs that we have as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right, Chalks, is there anything you want to add?
Best of both worlds.
There you go. That's another one, mate. That's what we're all about. Best of both worlds. Wrapped up.
Yep.
All right. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Chuckles.
F4F is love.
F4F is life.
And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Laters.